Hi, and welcome to our motorcycle tire guide. In this section, we are looking at tire codes, how to decode them. In the last bit, we looked at which size, which load rating, speed rating, construction type to choose for your motorcycle. So in this section, what we're really looking at is how to actually read that information on your tire's sidewall. 99% of the time, it's going to be in one of three coding schemes. There's metric, there's standard inch, and there's alpha or alphanumeric. So we're going to go into all three designations, show you how to sort of differentiate between them and how to read the information from each. So first off, we have a metric tire code. So as you can see, it reads 130 by 90-16 MC67H. So starting from the beginning, the 130, that's the tire width in millimeters. The 90 is going to be the aspect ratio, and that is the height of the tire divided by the width of the tire given in percentage. So the 90 indicates that the height of this tire is 90% the width of this tire. After that, we have a dash. Now, it's a dash here. It could just as easily be a B or an R. The dash indicates that it's bias-ply construction, a B would indicate that it's bias-belted construction, and an R would indicate that it is radial construction. After that, we have the number 16. That gives the diameter of this tire in inches. Following that, we have MC. That just designates that it's a motorcycle class tire. It's a good thing that you chose a motorcycle tire, but other than that, there's no information there. Following this, we have 67H. 67 is going to be the load index. We go into that in specific in another video. There's a chart there, and it's going to relate that number 67 to a specific mass in kilograms that this tire is going to be able to take. The H is a speed rating. And again, we have a whole other section on speed ratings. The chart's going to be there that's going to relate the letter H to a specific speed in kilometers an hour that this tire is rated to. In general, with speed ratings, the beginning of the alphabet is going to be slower ones. The end of the alphabet is going to be quicker ones. There are a few exceptions in the metric scheme. For one, V and Z rated tires will often have that speed rating put before the construction type. And invariably, it's going to be a radial construction type. So the same tire with a V or Z speed rating would read something like 130 by 90 ZR 16 MC 67. So that's one exception you could see. The other exception you might see is something with like a W or a Y speed rating. So with these, you may see that you'll have a W and a Y and a Z speed rating as well, because the Z is non-specific. It simply means that the tire is rated somewhere above 240 kilometers an hour. Whereas the W and the Y, those are the specific levels. They're 270 kilometers an hour and 299 kilometers an hour, respectively. So the same tire with a W's speed rating would read 130 by 90 ZR 16 MC 67 W. So again, you see that Z, you think, okay, the speed rating is above 240. And then you get to the end, you see the W, and you know, okay, the exact limit is going to be 270 on that tire. There are other abnormalities, of course. If you come across any, we recommend going to that tire manufacturer's website, and there they will give a really specific breakdown of their coding scheme, or you could call our customer service staff. They know all about this kind of stuff. The next scheme that you might see as well is the standard or the standard inch coding scheme. It might look like, something like this. So 3.00 H16 4PR. The 3.00 is going to be the width of the tire in inches. H is going to be that speed rating, same as it was before. 16 is going to be the diameter of the tire given in inches. That's the exact same as well. The 4PR, however, is new. That's a ply rating. Now, ply ratings, they hark back to the times when there was cotton used in tires, and it actually indicates how many layers of cotton are in there. But nowadays, you don't use cotton anymore, so it's turned into this sort of nebulous concept. Basically, a ply rating refers to how stiff the tire is, and when you think about that in relation to the size and the inflation pressure of the tire, you do get a rating for the amount of weight it can take. But there's no exact chart that's going to show you what 4PR means in kilograms or something like that. So we just recommend to match what the manufacturer says in terms of ply ratings, or go one or two better than that. You'll also note with this construction that there is no aspect ratio given. That's because it's assumed to be 100%. There's also no construction type given, and again, that's because it's assumed to be bias-ply. That's always the case with a standard inch tire. There are other abnormalities to this scheme. If you come across them again, check out the tire brand's website or call customer service. Next up, we would have an alpha tire code or an alphanumeric tire code. It'll look something like this: MT90-16 load range B. M indicates that it's just a motorcycle tire. Again, it's that motorcycle class. T is the width code. You can see our section for converting between tire sizes, and there you'll see the relation between width codes and actual measurements in centimeters. After that, we have the 90. That's the aspect ratio, and again, that's the height over the width given in percentage. After that, we have the dash, and again, the dash indicates BIAS-PLY. If it were a B, then it would indicate bias belted. If it were an R, it would indicate radial. 16 is going to be the diameter of that tire, again, given in inches. The load range B, that's also a ply rating. Again, it's that nebulous concept that has something to do with how much weight the tire can take, but it's not going to be cut and dry like we can give it in a chart and show you exactly what that means in kilograms. Just to sound like a broken record, I'll tell you that there are abnormalities to this coding scheme, like any one. Sometimes you'll see a load index is given there. Sometimes you'll see that a speed rating is given in the code. So there's all kinds of different variations you might see. There's a couple specific examples we give in the text below, but other than that, just check out the manufacturer's website, call customer service. They'll be able to help you out with that and really kind of give you some clarity if you have some abnormal schemes going on there. There are a few other markings on your tire sidewall that I'll run through real quick just before we close this section off. And we're going to start with inflation pressure. This here, where it says 42 PSI cold. So that's going to be the maximum inflation pressure for this tire. But the thing to note with that, really importantly, is that the maximum inflation pressure is not necessarily and not probably the pressure that you should be putting in the tire. And so you should really check out the motorcycle manufacturer. They're going to tell you what pressure you should put in your tires depending on how much load is on your bike. If you're riding two up, if you have saddlebags on the back that are really heavy, that's going to change how much pressure you should be putting in the tires. So a lot of people make the mistake of reading the PSI on the side of their tire and thinking, okay, I'll fill it to 42 because that's what it says. You shouldn't do that. That's the maximum this tire can handle. So when you're really inflating your tire, you need to look at what the motorcycle manufacturer says. The cold bit, that just indicates that this measurement needs to be taken when the tire is cold. So after it's been sitting in your garage or something like that. You don't want to take this measurement after a really spirited ride or after the bike has been sitting in the sun all day, because then that's going to be a hot measurement. You don't want to do that. You want to measure this when the tire is cold. After this, we're going to look at directional arrows. There's an example of one right there. So directional arrows, they'll just be a little arrow. There may even be the word direction for some of the really thick bikers out there. That just says that you need to mount this tire so that it turns along with that directional arrow when the bike is moving forward. That's really important because tires are engineered to withstand rotational strain in a very specific direction. So if you mount it the other way around, it's going to wear kind of unusually. The other thing with this is that many tires are designed to channel water outwards away from the tread path. So if you mount the tire backwards, it's going to channel water into the tread path. You're going to be hydroplaning all over the place. That's really bad. So you don't want to do that. After this, we're going to look at something like a born on date. So here's the DOT code, and we look, yes, indeed, there is the born on date. So here we have 1214 for our born on date. That indicates that this tire was made in the 12th week of 2014. This is really important because motorcycle tires have a shelf life. Normally after about 6 or 7 years, they shouldn't be used anymore. So being able to read a born on date is really important because if you look at the ones on your motorcycle right now, it may indicate that your tires are actually too old and you should get rid of them regardless of the wear pattern on them. That's going to be really important. The other thing to note is that tires before the year 2000 only had 3-digit born on dates. So you'll see something like 124, and that would indicate that it was made in the 12th week of 1994 or 1984, 1974, etc., etc. So it's a little bit less specific and confusing, but you don't have to worry about it because any tire made before the year 2000 is not going to be good to run anyway. So if you see a 3-digit born on date, just get rid of the tire and don't worry about it from there. After this, we're going to look at the last marking that's worth mentioning. That's going to be the tread wear indicator markings. So tread wear indicator markings, here's one right there. It's going to be a little arrow pointing upwards or even a TWI marking. What that indicates is it just shows you where in the tread pattern you're going to find those tread wear indicator bars. Tread wear indicator bars are little raised bars of rubber that sit inside a groove or inside the tread pattern. Basically what those are for is they're raised to the level of minimum tread depth. So basically when the outside of your tire surface becomes flush with that tread wear indicator bar, you know that your tire is worn and that it's time to replace it. That's the end of this section. There are, of course, more markings on your tires that you might see, but these are some of the really important ones. If you come across any that you don't know what they mean, just give us a call. We'd be happy to help you with that. There's loads more information coming up on motorcycle tires, so feel free to keep watching. If you have more questions, keep reading along. But for this section, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you later.